cloud. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Time to Run PTA Elections. We'll be getting started in a few minutes.
Hola a todos, bienvenidos al evento. Es el momento de postularse las elecciones del PA-PTA. Vamos a empezar en un par de minutos.
大家好，欢迎来到我们 PTA 的起跑吧选举会。我们将会在几分钟之后就开始。
So before we get started, I just have some announcements to make. We have interpreters on this call tonight. Mandarin and Spanish speakers will be able to comment and ask questions in their own language, assisted by interpreters. All participants must select their preferred language at the bottom of the screen using the globe interpretation icon, and the following slides will provide direction on interpretation. I'll turn it over to the interpreters to introduce themselves and provide those instructions. Naya, if you wouldn't mind advancing through the interpretation slides. First, we have the Mandarin.
Ok, voy a decir brevemente. Hola a todos, bienvenidas al evento. Es el momento de postularse las elecciones del PA-PTA. Y antes de empezar vamos a tener unos anuncios. Tenemos intérpretes que nos acompañan esta noche. Las personas que hablan mandarín y español van a poder hacer aportes y preguntas en su propio idioma con apoyo de los intérpretes.
大家好，欢迎来到我们 PTA 起跑吧的选举会。我们将会在几分钟之后开始。我们开始之前有几则的公告。我们今天会有普通话跟西班牙语的翻译，因此在我们翻译员的协助下，各位讲中文或者是西班牙语的参与者都可以在会议中用自己的语言去问问题跟提意见。
Hello everyone, my name is Alma. And I'm one of your interpreters tonight. My co-interpreter Chibi and I will be interpreting between Spanish and English, and our co-interpreters, Christine and Fran, will be interpreting between Mandarin and English. Before we get started, we want to share some guidelines that will allow us to best support this multilingual space. I'll be doing this introduction first in English, then in Spanish, and then the Mandarin interpreter will do this announcement in Mandarin. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Alma y soy una de sus intérpretes. Mi cointérprete Chibi y yo vamos a estar interpretando esta noche entre el español y el inglés. También tenemos a nuestras compañeras Christine y Fran, que van a interpretar entre el mandarín y el inglés. Antes de empezar, queremos compartir unas pautas que nos permitirán apoyar este espacio multilingüe lo mejor posible. Voy a hacer esta introducción primero en inglés, como ya lo hice, ahora en español, y ahora invito a mi compañera de mandarín a que lo haga en mandarín.
大家好，我叫 Christine，我是今晚其中一位的中文翻译，另外一位翻译员 Fran 会跟我一起进行中英文的翻译，而Chivi 跟另外一位西班牙语的翻译员会进行西班牙语的翻译。我们在开始会议之前，我们想要跟你去分享几项的指引。以助我们建立一个多语言的环境。我们先会用英文去介绍以下的指引，然后我们会用西班牙语去重复一遍，最后我们会以普通话跟大家再讲一遍。
Thank you. So I'm going to guide you now. As you know, that interpretation has been enabled. So I'm going to tell you, if you're connecting to Zoom from your computer, I'm going to invite you to locate at the bottom of the Zoom bar a little globe icon. When you find it, please click on it and select the English channel, and that's all you need to do. If you are connecting from your smartphone or your tablet, at the bottom right, you will see 3 little dots that say more. When you click on them, you will see language interpretation. You can select English, and at the top right, click on Done. That way you remain in that channel for all the meetings. We want to tell you that creating a multilingual space is everyone's responsibility. So we all have a part in making sure we can benefit from the knowledge and questions in this room, whether they are spoken in English, Spanish, or Mandarin. For that, we are going to invite you to please speak at a moderate pace, one person at a time, kind of at the same rhythm that I'm speaking right now. And we are asking all participants to select the preferred language, and please make sure that if you are not participating, your mic is on mute so we don't have any background noise. I'm going to repeat this announcement in Spanish. I appreciate your patience. Muy buenas noches. Entonces, si usted nos está acompañando de su computadora, le voy a invitar a que encuentre en la parte de abajo, en la barra de Zoom, un pequeño icono de un globito. Cuando lo encuentre, hágale clic, seleccione español y es todo lo que necesita hacer. Si usted nos está acompañando de su teléfono inteligente o de su tableta, en la parte de abajo a la derecha va a haber 3 puntitos que dicen más. Cuando les haga clic, puede usted seleccionar español y en la parte de arriba finalizado, y es todo lo que tiene que hacer. Cuando participe, recuerde que para crear un espacio multilingüe es la responsabilidad de todas las personas que estamos aquí. Así que tenemos un papel para asegurarnos que todos podemos beneficiarnos del conocimiento y preguntar en este grupo, ya sea que se hable en inglés, en español o en mandarín. Les pedimos que por favor, ya que hayan elegido su canal, hablen cuando participen a una velocidad moderada, un poquito como estoy hablando ahorita, una persona a la vez. Y si no están usando su micrófono, por favor, ciérrenlo para que no tengamos ningún ruido de fondo. Muchísimas gracias.
我们已经在我们的 Zoom 上开启了这个翻译功能。如果您使用的是电脑的话呢，请在荧幕底部的那边点击地球仪，并选择中文，然后就可以收听我们的普通话翻译。现在，如果你是透过手机或者是平板电脑加入我们的话呢，请点击3个点点，它上面写着显示更多。你在那边点一下，然后选择语言翻译，然后选择中文，然后最后在右上角点击完成。然后呢，当有人说英文或者是西班牙语的时候呢，你就可以听到我们的普通话翻译。如果你遇到任何的问题呢，你都可以在我们的聊天框中发表你的意见评论，然后我们会尽力的去提供资源。谢谢。然后呢，我们还想要告诉你们，创造多语言空间是每个人的责任。无论对话是用英文、西班牙文或者是普通话进行的话呢，我们也是有责任去确保我们是可以从这个房间中，吸收所有的知识跟在问题中受益。所以我们今天的口译公告到此结束，谢谢。
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to get started. Welcome to part 3 of PTA-Link's 4-part webinar series of the 2024-25 school year. Time to run PTA elections. Election season is upon us, and PTA-Link is here to support your organizations. Please say hello in the chat and say what school or district you are in. We will be recording this webinar. Participants can keep their cameras off if they prefer. Please keep yourself muted unless we call on you. Participants can raise their hand or use the chat to comment or ask questions. There will be designated participation periods throughout, but we ask that you hold your questions until the end. So who are we? Hi, my name is Antonia Ferraro Martinelli. I am the PTA-Link coordinator. I am also a parent leader in my district, which is District 15. I am currently the president of CEC 15. And PTAlink was started by another PTA parent leader named Rachel Fine, who saw a real need for knowledge across PTAs, and she decided to create this platform to fill the void. And my director, Naya Berg, is here with me today.
Hi, folks. Welcome tonight. I am so excited to have, oh man, is this our second?
This is our third
webinar with the PTAlink platform. I am the executive director of New York Appleseed, and you might be wondering, okay, I signed up for PTAlink. You are in the right place. PTAlink is a platform and a website that's been around for some time, but in April of 2022, I believe it was, we acquired the website and platform. Rachel Fine gave us her blessing and gave her baby to us to support and scale and be able to continue to grow the wonderful aid and technical expertise that has been PTAlink. Part of our mission is New York Appleseed is to advocate for inclusive and equitable and integrated schools. And it seemed like a no-brainer to also adapt this platform, as we know, to be able to empower parent leaders across New York City with any questions, complicated questions from how do we become a 501c3 to less that's how do I open a bank account, or simply I just got elected to treasurer. What does that mean? And so we work on a lot of those questions, and today we'll be answering all the questions with the elections. With that, I'm going to become the wizard behind the curtain tonight. You will see me in the chat, but I am thankful for everyone that is here.
Thank you, Naya. So we have some guest speakers tonight. We have Georgette Pezzolanti. Naya, could you just advance the slide for Georgette? Georgette is the Family Leadership Coordinator of District 21. Welcome, Georgette.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here with all your parents. My name is Georgette Pezzolanti. I am currently the Family Leadership Coordinator in District 21 for Superintendent Demola, but I have been a parent in District 21 since my daughter entered kindergarten in 1995. I served on many PTAs, SLTs, our President's Council. So my family is the fourth generation to reside in District 21. So there is a commitment to the community. So we love what we do in District 21. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Georgette. Let's advance to the next slide. We have two more guest speakers tonight. We have Rosa Diaz from the Manhattan High School President's Council and CPAC Chair.
Yes, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here in community with everyone, especially because we love to educate parents. My name is Rosa Diaz. I am the president of the Parents Association at Food and Finance High School, also the president of Manhattan High School's President's Council, and the CPAC, which stands for Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council Chair. I'm a parent of 3 children in New York City Public Schools, District 2, 4, and 5, one with special education. And I am the former president of Community Education Council in District 4, and currently the IEP representative. And everything that I do is to support parents, parent leaders, and everything that we need to collaborate and work together for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're also pleased to have Caroline Jose, who is the president of District 6's President's Council.
Thank you,
Carol?
everyone, for having me this evening. PTAlink, you guys are the best. I'm so excited to be here tonight. PTAlink is actually the very beginning resource I used when I started my parent leadership journey. And so I'm just really thankful to be here. I am a president of the District 6 President's Council, and I also serve as the PTA president for the wonderful Duke Ellington School PS4 Uptown. And I also serve as the vice president of the CUC for District 6. So it's been quite the journey to learn all the ins and outs of parent leadership, but it all comes down to the main root as myself being a student of District 6. I actually was raised in elementary school of PS 128, and I went to the Edward Stitt Junior High School IS 164. So I got to see as a child what parents can be powerful in a school space. And when my time came to be a parent, that was the first thing I asked when I went to register them for Duke Ellington. I said, "Where's your PTA?" So a lot of this is coming from a strength of wanting to advocate for parents of all backgrounds, all walks of life, to ensure that our students are constantly getting supported in every way that they can through our parents and through the knowledge that can be brought into a space where parents may not know what is what. So thank you so much again. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity and can't wait to continue.
Yeah, welcome everybody. So we have some topics that we're going to go over tonight. We're going to do a little mock election, then we're going to talk about planning elections and nominating committees and candidate eligibility, elections outreach, conducting elections. We're going to briefly touch upon SLT elections and finally certification. But we're going to kick things off with a mock election. I had the great pleasure of being invited out to District 21 to watch their mock election. And it was so much fun. And I was so inspired by it. And I thought I would ask Georgette to share a mock election with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Georgette to get us started.
So I've been asked to speak a little bit about our election process and how things work for us in our district. So my mock election that I have annually is usually done in the first 2 weeks in March, because according to the bylaws of our parent associations in the district, they form their nominating committees in February. So we begin with, as always, what's in your bylaws, right? Nominating committees are formed based on the bylaws. From there, they have to solicit the membership. They outreach to the parents to try to get them engaged and active within the school. If we do in-person elections, we work with physical ballots. If we do a virtual election, then we're throwing up polls. And they run a little different. The concepts are always the same. When you do an in-person election, you are taking nominations for all of your positions and creating ballots. When you do a virtual election, they are done by each title. And then a poll is done. You take nominations for your presidency or co-presidency based on the Parents Association's bylaws. And I must stress that it's very important for your nominating committee to have a copy of the PTA or PA bylaws so they know who can run, what are the positions. It's very important. What are the term limits for the association? Can I be the PTA president for the next 4 years? Or can I only serve 2 consecutive 1-year terms? So that language is very important for your nominating committee to understand. They also need to understand the term that the current officers have served, and if they are eligible or willing to continue, are they going to run? It's also very important for the nominating committee to know what their quorum is for the Parents Association and understand who makes the quorum, how many executive board members are needed to reach quorum, and how many parents are needed to reach quorum. Teachers never help a parents association or a PTA reach quorum. It's all about the parents when it comes to reaching quorum. So I was asked to do a little bit of a virtual mock election. So I am going to introduce myself as Georgette Pezzolanti. I am the chairperson for the nominating committee. And based on the association's bylaws, the first position that is available is the office of presidency. Is there anybody here that is willing to nominate themselves or somebody else, if the person is here, for the position of presidency? What happens in the background is somebody is verifying, and people have been verified at this point on who's eligible to vote. So we've already gone through that voter verification process, and everybody that's in the meeting, right, has been verified. Your agendas should say that people need to be into the meeting by a certain time, because once we start the election process, anybody that comes afterwards should go into a breakout room until that's finished or be left in the waiting room. So you have to be very clear with your agenda when the election cycle is actually going to start. So I will take nominations for the position of presidency. Is there anybody here that's willing to be the president for the Parents Association?
Good evening. My name is Rosa Diaz. I would like to nominate myself for the Parents Association President's role.
Okay, Rosa. Rosa, you are, I believe, a grandparent in the building?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and because I see you at all of the functions, so thank you so much for always supporting your Parents Association. So now that we have determined that Rosa is a grandparent, behind the scenes, the principal's designee is going to let the nominating committee chair or another member know if Rosa is considered a custodial parent. You have grandparents that come and volunteer, or even an aunt, right? That come and they volunteer all the time and they assist. They're there anytime you need them, but they are not a custodial parent in the eyes of Chancellor's Regulations A660. You'll have also maybe a grandparent or an aunt that is the custodial parent. Maybe the parents are away overseas, right? Or just away for other reasons. And then the grandparent is or aunt is considered the custodial parents. And it is your principal or your principal's designee that makes that determination. So I'm going to pretend that at this particular point that I've been told that Rosa does not qualify as a custodial parent. And this is happening in the background because you never want to embarrass somebody. So in the chat to me, I'm being told that she does not qualify. And I will say, Rosa, thank you so much. But in accordance to the guidelines, you're not eligible, but I love seeing you in the building and I hope you continue to work with us. Right? So that's how that would go. And then I would ask, is there anybody else that's willing to be the PTA president?
Hello, I would like to nominate myself. I'm Nana Cheryl, and I am also a grandparent, but my grandchild's parents are living abroad, and I am the official legal guardian for the time being of the child.
Thank you so much for your nominations, Antonia. So again, in the background, my principal or the principal's designee is indeed verifying, right? And we're not privileged to this information about this family. So, and we don't ask questions about it. It's not our business what goes on in another family's life. So if your principal or the designee says yes, this person is considered the legal guardian, then we take the principal's word on it and we say, thank you so much, Antonio. We can accept your nominations. Is there anybody else that would like to? She's switching hat again. I have to laugh. I'm sorry. Is there anybody else that would like to nominate themselves for the position of presidency?
Yes, I'm Miss Kim. I'm the art teacher, but I also happen to have a child in the school, and I'd really like to nominate myself as president.
Thank you so much, Miss Kim. And yes, I know you're at every meeting and your child is adorable. And we are a PTA, but teachers cannot run as executive board officers. Yeah. So I hope you keep coming to our meeting. Is there anybody else that would like to nominate themselves?
Yes, I would like to nominate myself. My name is Caroline Jose, and I'm a parent of 2 children here at the school.
Okay. What grades are your children in, Caroline?
My youngest is in 1st grade, and my oldest is in 5th grade.
Okay, that's great. So I'm going to use this as another example of something that might not qualify Carolyn to run. She mentioned that she has a 5th grade child, which means, right, is if she's in a PS, that she's graduating out. Her child would be graduating out. She has a 1st grade child, so that's okay. So she can run. But if she was to say to me that she has a child coming in kindergarten in September, she would not be eligible because the 5th grade is leaving and would not be in the building on July 1st. And the incoming kindergarten will not be in the building until September. So that's a scenario that would disqualify Carolyn, but based on the fact that she has a 1st grader, she is eligible to run. So Carolyn, thank you so much. So we have 2 candidates so far. Is there anybody else that would be willing to run for presidency? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times. The slate is closed. We are going to prepare a ballot, which is called a poll in a virtual election. We're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to speak while we are preparing the poll in the background. So the way you do that is alphabetically by last name. That's how a poll is created, always alphabetically by last name. So I am going to give Carolyn a moment to unmute herself and please speak to as to why you would like to be the PTA president.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to run for the PTA presidency. My purpose has always been to ensure that the future always looks bright for my own children, but I'm also a student of this neighborhood, of this district, and I saw the ways that parents were involved. That inspired me to want to continue doing that for my own children. So if I'm elected president, I will ensure that I bring great programs to the school, and I will do all in my power to help the students succeed in every way possible by collaborating with the teachers and communicating effectively with all parents. We thank you so much for this time, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Antonia?
Yes, or Nana Cheryl. I am so happy to get the chance to spend this time with my grandchildren and all of your children. I didn't get to spend much time with my children when I was younger because I was always working. And now in my retirement, I get to spend a lot of time. I have time to volunteer. And I'm just so happy to be in the classroom and think about all of the children in the entire community, not just my own grandchildren. So I really hope you vote for Nana Cheryl.
Thank you so much. Ms. Berg, is the poll ready to be launched?
It is.
It is, but I think we made, we set up the poll initially for Rosa and Caroline. So Nana Cheryl will not be appearing on the
Nana,
poll,
oh,
but
don't
we can
worry.
put it up.
I got
That's
it.
fine.
Okay. And here we go.
Oh, you did it.
Very nice. So at this moment, everybody has 2 minutes to make a choice. What you would do also, if you have people that actually dialed in on the phone, after this poll is done, you're not going to show the results right away. You're going to poll the people in the breakout room you call them by the last 4 digits of their cell phone number, and you're going to put them in a breakout room and you're going to take their vote. And then you will simply say, you'll launch this poll, the results here, and then you would say, we polled 4 people in the breakout room with phone numbers ending in, and you give the numbers. There have been an additional 4 votes for Rosa. All right, so that would change possibly what you actually see come up on the screen. So you have to let your parents know that behind the scenes, you took 4 parents into a breakout room and you took their vote. Okay. And when we're talking about on the phone, we're not just talking that somebody was able to use Zoom and use their phone. We're talking the good old fashioned, I just dialed in to listen. Okay, so congratulations to Rosa, the new PTA president. Right? Always take a screenshot of that, and it should be part of your election records. All right. Are there anything
Wonderful.
else you would like me to cover?
Well, if you want to talk a little bit about, the fact that the difference between the principal's role and the parent coordinator's role in elections.
Right. So for most of us, even pre-pandemic, when we were all, right, in-person elections back then, you used to have staff, parent coordinators that would verify people off the ATS roster as they came into the meeting. That is usually the role of the staff, parent coordinators. The role of the principal is to make sure that the elections were conducted in accordance to Chancellor's Regulations A660 and the association bylaws. That's what the principals are certifying. So parent coordinators play a very big role in verifying in person and virtually. Depending upon your school, sometimes there are multiple people that are helping verify parents as they come into the waiting room. So it might not just be the parent coordinator, but a parent coordinator can never be the principal's designee. Right? They're there to support and verify, but they're not the principal's designee. And it's either the principal and AP or anybody else that he deems appropriate to certify the elections. And that will be signing the election form the night of the election. And that person or the parent coordinator would be responsible for making sure they had the correct names for the people that won the election. So this way they can go into our systems and fill out the election form based on what's in ATS. And then most of the time it's the parent coordinators that put it in the school parent leadership, SPLCI. Sometimes they can't think of that full acronym on it, but they're responsible for putting that in there. When you do ballots, hand ballots, it's important to know who's allowed to have a ballot, right? Whether you're a PA or a PTA. When you're a PTA, does the bylaw say parent, teachers, and staff, or just teachers? So it's important that the nominating committee and the association understands who's able to receive a ballot for PTA elections. For SLT elections, it would only be your parents that receive ballots. If you're a Title I school, it's also, again, only your parents that would ever receive a ballot. Good.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for all that wisdom. We really appreciate you being able to give us your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. You're welcome to stay on if you want to chime in at any point, or you're welcome to say goodnight. But we're going to move ahead with planning elections. So you know that your PA and your PTAs and your president's councils are all self-governing bodies, and they are responsible for conducting their own elections. And school officials, as Georgette just outlined, offer very limited oversight to ensure strict compliance with the laws and regulations. And your election process is defined in your bylaws. Everything from your quorum to who exactly is a voting, whether your teachers are voting, that's all in your bylaws. Backwards scheduling. So your goal on June 26th, that is the last day of the school year, is to have an executive board. And so you have that date, and you have the date of April 1st when your principal has to be notified of when your election date is. So somewhere between April 1st and June 26th, you are scheduling this election, and you're giving your parent body at least 10 days calendar notice of when that election is. So you have to work backwards from these dates to determine when to form your nominating committee. And you don't have to form a nominating committee, but it is a very good idea to form a nominating committee. So we recommend that you form one in February. Now, obviously, we're past February. So either you would be forming that now, or your executive board would be doing this work. So your nominating committees are established in accordance with your bylaws. They typically have 3 to 5 parents, none of whom plan to run for office. Nobody on that body can run for office. You cannot have any school staff on your nominating committee. Now, staff who are employed in other schools who happen to be a parent in your school, they may be permitted to be on the nominating committee. What do? They schedule the elections. They notify the principal and all the PTA members of the date and the time of the election. They prepare the materials. They solicit nominations. They collect the statements. They verify the candidates and the voter eligibility. They preside over nominations and elections. They count the ballots. They conduct the election and the runoff if necessary. They'll announce the winners, and they will submit the election certification form, which is signed by your principal. And now we have Rosa Diaz, who is going to talk a bit more about planning elections from her perspective.
Yes, thank you so much. And I want to also reiterate that it is best practice to form a nominating committee because we want everyone's voice to be heard. And we suggest 3 to 5 parents that do not want to hold any position in the PTA. That is best practice. And spring elections, what should we do? Right? Everyone has this question. I've been there many, many times, and I still rely on my fellow parent leaders to refresh my memory when it comes to minor things that we may forget along the way because we have so many roles in our heads. Spring elections to do. Have parent associations, parent teachers associations, bylaws. This is very, very important because this governs your PTA. It will tell you the dates and times of your meeting. It will tell you the location of your meeting. And if your meeting is on a holiday, then it will tell you that it is a week afterwards. Excuse the background on a specific date and time. And also the chancellor's regulations, you need to have it with you. Print it out so you can have it with you. Send it to all your parents so they can be aware, have some type of training. It is very, very important. Create the meeting notices and agendas on time, right? I know we hear many times, oh, I sent it 10 days ago, but don't send it at night because that's really not 10 days, just send it with time, maybe in the morning of the 10th day, so you can give parents the notice and mark their calendars. Solicit a school for candidates, right? Send it out to the whole school, all the way from 3K all the way to eighth grade. If your school has 8th grade or up to the 5th grade, we want a variety of voices. We want to hear from everyone. We want to educate parents. And also, while you gotta check, we just went through this, we gotta check eligibility of who is able to run. Unfortunately, grandmas, if they're not the legal guardians, you're not able to run. But we do thank you and we do appreciate and we love seeing your face every single month and every single event. Please continue to join us. And of course, this is one of the most important things. Request translation. You have to check what is the school's top languages. In my school is Spanish, and we do have a Spanish translation. So this is, get to know your school community and have translation available. And consult with SLT, which means the school leadership team, and Title I, uh, Parents Advisory Council elections after the elections are done, so we can all know who were nominated, who got elected, and how we can all work together. Because in reality, we all work together. SLT is very important because you have core members, and Title I because we want to know how to spend the Title I money. So all of us, all parent leadership, we work together and we should continue to work together. Let me go to the next slide. Yes, and this is what I was referring to, preparing the meeting notices. Please, please, please do not send it at night. It is recommendable to please send it in the morning, maybe 11 days. The minimum is 10. You can send it 2 weeks before and then send a reminder on the 10th day and then send another reminder because then you cover yourself for any grievance, right? And what does it need to include? It needs to include the date, the time, the location, the actual link, and the code and the password so parents can actually, if they're not able to click on the link, or if they want to just type it in, that's okay too. And it has to include, is it the meeting in person? Is it the meeting virtual? And also the statements of the qualifications of all the candidates of that child of that specific school. You have to list all the positions that are available and also the term limits. Information on how to become a candidate, because not everyone knows what is a candidate or what it is to be a PTA representative, right? And when is it going to be? When is nomination closes? When is the elections? And what does the date and time mean? When is being distributed? And also, we already said this, the meeting format, in person or virtual. We already mentioned that. And that is very important because it could be a little bit confusing. And next slide, please. And this comes a little bit often. A lot of people believe that we're still having hybrid meetings. We are no longer having no hybrid meetings at all. It is either in person or virtual elections. There is no hybrid elections at all. So when you do it in person, you have to submit the permit, of course, so the school can be available, so you can have security guards, to keep everyone safe. And you have to, just like you just said, create the ballots. You have to give a sample to parents so they can know what are they doing, right? And if there's someone that speaks Spanish, you have to do that too. You have to ensure that there's like a little box, right? That is like closed, that is locked, that parents are able to just insert the ballot without being able to get it out. And ask a DOE employee to verify applicants using the ATS roster. They're going to have a roster with everyone's name and child's, and they're all going to have to be verified before their candidacy. And you have to display the candidate's name, their pictures, advertise it to your whole school so they can know, who am I voting for? Who is this lady? Who is this person? I don't know who to vote, right? Do I know this person? I say hi to her or to him in the morning. Now, with virtual elections, you must create a Zoom link with registration so you can know and send reminders. And you have to create polls. And you also have to verify, while everyone is entering, you have to verify every single person that is entering the meeting. Make sure that you ensure the host understands the Zoom platform. It's a little complicated still, even of years of us having the Zoom platform. The host needs to mute and unmute, share screen, do the polls. Don't forget about the recording just in case, and the breakout room, just like Antonia was saying earlier. And now we're going to the next slide. Okay, who is qualified to run? Same thing as Georgette said, we have to make sure that the person, the parent, the legal guardian is able. I mean, everyone is willing. Everyone is willing to, yes, me, I want to be, support my PTA, but are you eligible, right? Who can run? Any parent or legally recognized guardian whose child attend the school that you're running for, which includes from 3K all the way to 8th grade. Legal appointed guardians, right? Sometimes parents are foster parents, which I've seen, and families must have all the documentation. What is the commitment? Because sometimes they don't know, oh, I have to meet every month and I have to meet with the executive board and I have to do so it's a lot. You have to let the parent know. The term lasts 1 year, all the way from June 30th, all the way to July 1st. The time commitment varies depending on the executive board roles and goals of the organization. And again, this has to do with your bylaws. Your bylaws will determine the date and time and location of your meetings. What if they don't have any experience? It's okay. Just by you willing to serve, to put your name out there, stepping up to the plate, we thank you, because we did not know everything when we joined. We just wanted, we just love helping. That's our passion, right? Everything can be learned from the current parent leaders and anyone that is able, like our parent coordinators are truly amazing. They have done this over and over every single year, and most of them are very knowledgeable. So utilize your parent coordinators too. And I'm sure the family leadership coordinators like Georgette does a lot of training and workshops. Okay. And also President's Council, I'm sorry, Antonia, we're able to support with any elections, provide guidance, provide any mock elections. That's what we do, train all the parents, new ones, formers. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Before we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to ask you if you, as a seasoned parent leader, do you have any anecdotes from elections in your past?
So we have many, right? We've had sometimes when parents change their names, now they're married, sometimes they're married and now they're not there. They have the legal name of the husband and they're like, oh no, it's not this person. So we have to like go back and change the register. And it is the same parent, it's just a different legal name now. So those are the minor hiccups that we as parents encounter. But again, everything with communication with the school leaders, we're able to support the parent in eager need of helping the school community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, we can move to the next slide. I think it's a pop quiz. Oh, it's true or false. All right, everybody, get ready to participate. True or false, principals, APs, supervisors, parent coordinators are all eligible to run for PTA if their child attends the school. Raise your hand if you would like to answer this question. All right, Chantel, true or false?
I'd say that is false. They cannot run.
That is right.
Oh, wait.
They
yeah,
cannot run. Your supervisory staff cannot run for PTA, even if their child attends the school. Second, true or oh wait, there's one more. Go back. Second question. All other school staff, teachers are eligible members, but they may not serve on the executive board or nominating committee, even if their child attends the school. True or false? Chantel again.
I'd say true.
That is true. That is true. They cannot serve on the executive board or the nominating committee, even if their child attends the school. All right, let's move on to the next slide. I think we've got Caroline up, who's going to talk about outreach best practices and challenges.
All right, everybody. This is I think the meat and potatoes of all things PTA, right? When it comes to the executive board, there are so many mountains to climb, but once you get to those peaks, everything else looks like a little hill, It's really that simple. Once you got it down packed, it becomes a habit. and you'll know how to move across this. But let us discuss this because this is a very important topic, I think. When we're talking about elections outreach, when my first experience as a PTA president or becoming one, that part of transitioning seems to be a little bit harder because I realized, the first thing is first. A lot of people don't know what a PTA even is. They really don't understand it, or they have their own conception of what that is because they think it's all cookies or it's all big sales. And you know what? It's really not. There's actually more to it than meets the eye. So we're going to talk about a little bit of the best practices and the common challenges. I think we can begin with the common challenges, right? So we can see, bad news to good news, if you will. So I wrote a few down because I was thinking about what were the challenges I came across. And sometimes, even being a seasoned president at this point for 3 years, I have still some challenges because every new incoming year, you have parents that leave, you have parents that are starting, you have parents that were constantly active and now they have new lives, new jobs. They're not in the involvement space anymore. So just a quick breakdown of the ones that I know of the most that I've seen in my own time. Obviously low participation rates, engaging parents and even teachers in the election process can be challenging, right? And I'm talking about even just getting the word out, right? I'm talking really fast. There goes the New Yorker. I'm going to slow that down. So engaging parents and teachers in the election process can be challenging because of time constraints. We are talking about a school time, instructional time. That time can be very covered. And, in some schools, you might not be able to just go down the hallways and drop in mailboxes in the main office. You might have to just wait until the end of the school day. And so that becomes a challenge of just to be able to communicate and get the participation in these elections to come through, right? And you can also have lack of awareness in that people don't know that there's an election in the first place. Some people don't want to even be involved. So I've seen that happen in the participation space. And so, that's been a challenge. Lack of the candidates, right? So now we're talking about, we don't have anybody really running. What are we going to do? We need an executive board. We need something to happen for these officers to be put in place to start the work. That way we can actually have representation of our schools, of our PTA. There may be shortage of volunteers that they're willing to run for these positions. And, I think that one of the best ways to mitigate this is to highlight the impact and benefits of serving on the PTA. So the things about my experience so far that have been, great, successes, I like to bring that around. How did we get the 5th graders to get on that field trip? Or how did we, raise awareness to a certain parent's, concern? And that came through the PTA, right? Things like that nature have been supportive in that way. Ensuring the fairness and transparency, that can be a challenge. Sometimes a parent might not feel like they're being represented in the actual space of a PTA, and so they don't want to be participating in the election process. They don't want to be an officer. They don't want to volunteer. A lot of don't want to, because guess what? You don't represent me as a parent in this school. So that's always been, unfortunately, something that you always not only have to keep in mind, but you may not even know it, right? This is why it's important to get to know your parents and your school. Navigating the regulations. Oh man, A660 is a very hefty document. It is probably at least read by myself. It's read at least maybe 6 times in a month. I'll just look at it just to read it again, because there's things about it that you probably interpreted one way one year, and then you go back and read it and you're like, oh wait, that's not what that meant, was it? So approaching this with your FLCs is always important too, because once you do this part of connecting with your FLC, your family leadership coordinator, you're able to get clarity and you can always navigate the recruiting space even better. Effective communication is always core, key, if you will, at trying to reach all the members of your school, but that becomes a challenge as well. I said before, it might be that you might not be able to reach everybody. And unfortunately, somebody might come around a couple of days after the election and say, I didn't get that message. I didn't see that email. I didn't see that poster. I didn't get that text. Whichever it is, you didn't reach them. That's the point, right? So how do we go from these challenges to the successes of actually working through what the challenges are and what would be the best practice for them? So I always go with the number one, supernatural, direct asks, right? So sometimes, yes, you can still make the broad announcements, your flyers, you can put it out on the social media site of the school. You can, you know, backpack all of the messages of the election. But personally inviting parents that show interest. So maybe you have a couple of parents that are consistent in your meetings and they actually enjoy the meeting, right? They like that they're coming to get information. And you can approach them and say, hey, would you like to shadow for one of these positions? We were always looking for new, insight on all our parents, how they would change something or how they would see the work of the PTA, right? So make your voice heard, right? Tap into the existing volunteers. We have a few volunteers that are always around and we're very appreciative of them on our PTA. Maybe they want to take a little stab at the wanting to be a secretary. They write great notes. You've seen them, sit at the registration table for a raffle. You see them be interacting. Maybe they like to speak a lot. And that's a great space for a president, right? So these are things that you should be seeing in your spaces as you continue through the year and start scouting these individuals that show this presence of they have great traits for being on an executive board. Why not? Empower your actual current officers. I have a lovely mom who is the PTA. She used to be the secretary last year, and she renominated herself to be the treasurer. And this is why. I had no idea that she really enjoyed like critical thinking of numbers, mathematics. And so she wanted to understand that role even more, and she ran for it, and she won it. So sometimes it's the people that are you already with that want to change the roles. They want to learn something new. So always, go with your team in the beginning as well, like to see, are they feeling comfortable in this role? Do they think they're gonna run again? The people that are closest to you in the work are also great people to tap into. And so showcasing the value of the PTA leadership, right? We're living in a social media time. I can't tell you how many PTAs I follow all across 5 boroughs. I love watching the work that we put out there because sometimes you don't even know what the PTA does, but you follow a page and you start noticing they have literacy nights, they have math nights, they do dance offs, or they do teachers and students basketball games or whatever. Things like that. These are things that show the work instead of having to spread the word all the time. And there's nothing better than seeing the emphasis of the actual collaboration of the parents in the school being in that environment. That inspires the children to say, well, my mom is on the PTA, that kind of thing. And that makes the child even go into their parent and say, Mommy, is there any way you can volunteer at the PTA? Because I want to go to that event. Things like that are so natural and they actually show up every day for me. I'm going to try to speed it up a little because I don't want to take too much time. You want to highlight the impact. You want to share the success stories of the past PTA initiatives. We're starting a little tradition soon where we're going to honor the past officers from all the way from 2014. And I think it's valuable to show it kind of almost like a museum in your PTA room. Show all the wonderful work that's been done all through these years that's gotten us to this place in our school and in our parent community. That way, new parents that come in, they say, wow, there's legacy here. That's something to be impressed by, and that's something to hold up to. And I want to be part of the legacy, right? Using testimonials. Sometimes, we don't get a moment really because we're doing all this crazy work of running around. But when I sit down with my team, we always try to do a hindsight of the last event. And the first thing they say is, that was amazing. I can't believe we got that done. I really can't wait till the next one. That is a testimonial. And that says a lot about where we want to see the rest of the work go. And the parents that are around us in these meetings, when they can sit in and just listen in on some of our meetings, they hear that and they go, oh man, it must be fun to be there. The one thing I try not to do is have the executive board be a clique, so to speak. We always say, we are the PTA. We just happen to be the ones that help you put together the events for the PTA. That's it. And that changes the mindset immediately. Because when they see me with our team, they always think that we're the PTA. I'm like, no, we are the PTA. So always emphasize we're a whole unit of the school, right? The parents are automatic members. And so, you know, something that I try to do too is leverage the multiple communication channels, right? We have robocalls. I have a fantastic connection with the faculty that handles all the robocalls. I say, can you please put out our flyer for the next meeting? And they're like, absolutely, which is wonderful to do. Parents get the text, and even parents that I may not have met yet that haven't signed up to be part of the PTA's membership in that way, they get full exposure to what's the next meeting, the next event, and everyone gets it at the same time of day, which is wonderful. You know, utilize the social media. If you have WhatsApp as a chat, put it in there, create a chat for your parents. You have a Facebook page, throw it up on the Facebook page. Anything, Instagram is always great. Just a quick image, quick description, and you're getting the likes. Now, some things that may be a little challenging in that space is that some parents don't have these certain apps. So there's nothing better than to engaging it where they actually do go, right? So if it's at the food pantry that your school does, leave some flyers there. Make sure they pick up the flyers when they're there. Parent-teacher conferences, even though they're virtual, when the teacher drops their Zoom link and everything, I will ask in specific my own teacher, right, for my own kids. I say, can you please like pass this along in your parent-teacher conference message? And people will see it right there, because I notice that parents are constantly looking at information from a faculty member or from a teacher, and they don't know what a PTA is yet. So who do they know? That's who I need to take my moment with, right? To teach them about the election, right? And, you know, providing the support and training, offer the shadowing. If someone doesn't know what that is, what a PTA is, say, hey, why don't you sit down with my treasurer? She's gonna announce the report for the month. You're gonna see where this money that we all fundraise for, where does it go? And how is it broken up? And where we're gonna use it next? All of those things. Or it could even be, you know, the vice president, like, you want to run for a position, but you're not so sure that you can give all the 100% time. The vice president position actually allows you to support the president when they're not there. And chances are that that might not be consistently every single month. Sometimes you might just jump in because they have to have a meeting with the principal that morning, and you're holding down the PTA's meeting for the first brief moment just to let everybody feel welcome. It's simple spaces that parents can feel where do they contribute, and that is probably where the best space is. And the last thing is recognizing and appreciating your volunteers. I cannot stress that enough. When the volunteers feel that appreciation, they probably want to run. They're probably going to want to find a way to help you out even more. And so publicly acknowledge the contributions and thank them through newsletters, social media, and the school events. Just say, I want to give a shout out to, you know, Antonia and Rosa and Georgette. They came in and they put up the decorations for our wonderful Valentine's Day. They made the mood happen and they gave us their energy, and we just want to say thank you. And parents see that and they're like, oh, that's who did it? Oh man, I need to get, you know, together. I want to volunteer and I want to run probably. You never know. So these are just things that I considered best practices, as well as, unfortunately, yes, a little bit of a challenge or two. But I believe that these are the things that have helped PTAs in our district move forward. Okay, and now we're going to discuss voter outreach and candidate recruiting and mentorship, right? Committees, they build capacity. Of course, committees are A1, right? I think that's one of those places that parents could definitely volunteer their time, and it becomes helpful in the process. They mentor potential new PTA and PTA executive board members. Ensure candidates understand executive board roles and responsibilities. Very important. You hear the word treasurer and you think you're about to run a whole bank. No, there are documents that help you along to understand. You have your interim report and your end of the year report, your financial reports. Those things are already in place for you to fill out, and you can reach out to, again, your FLC, They can hold trainings with your PTA to help you do those things. It's important to just show that you're in support always of these roles, because that's the part of it, that you're going to consistently work together every single month to acquire the goals of the school and the students. So if this is considering, being in a space where getting candidates to be recruited is a challenge, always showing that you want to model that you're a parent doing this, right? I'm not this high and mighty president sitting on top of a hill. I'm literally a mom with 2 kids, and all I'm trying to do is help my parents out, just like I need the help. That's really what this is, So you show them, you come back down to earth with this information, and find a way to familiarize yourself with them, make them feel accepted into that. And I think that goes a long way. I've had a lot of parents in the last few years that have really embraced the PTA in a way that they didn't think they could. And it was all because I literally kept reminding them, we're parents. We're the ones that are bringing our kids to this school. We have every right to be here. We have every right to recruit other parents that want to do this, And so ensuring that the candidates understand the roles, right? That can also mean that president, oh my God, that sounds like a very, 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 very stressful position. It's only stressful, I think, if you yourself give that appearance, right? I think being a president means that you're trying to hear everyone and be in a space that you're going to be a great listener and really find the collaboration with your parents so that you can show that you're listening and you're giving them back what they're asked for, right? And so even if when you can't, because, let's be honest here, some things are out of our reach and they're more on the decisive space of like the principal has to be okay with it, you still have to show some sort of leveling of, listen, this is what we wanted, but this is what we're getting. And if we're really gonna feel the empathy of everything, we need to be making it so that everyone understands that we are all a voice of the school's system. And connecting, that's really what it's coming down to. I would say the next slide, because I think we were gonna discuss the voter outreach. Yeah, sorry, because I went on and on there a little bit, but that's because it's very important to understand the highs and lows of this, right? Because when you walk into it as an election, you have the high there. Oh my God, I'm the treasurer. I can't wait. And then you get into the work and you're like, hold on. But that part is where you have to like bring yourself back to that reality of, I'm not the last person to do this, and I'm not the first person to do this. The team is going to do it together. We're all going to learn with each other. That's very important. So voter outreach, I'm trying to breeze through this a little faster. You want to, obviously, you have your flyers, and you want to make sure that the flyers are, yes, colorful. We have Canva. If you can have a Canva account, fundraise for a Canva account, I promise you, it's like the best thing ever, because most of these slides and flyers are kind of already prepped, and all you have to do is put your information, and it's engaging. People want to see fun things at a school, right? There's kids, they're children. You want to see engagement in that way. So, PTA at school events is important, right? Because like, let's say it's the coffee with the principal, or let's say that the school is holding some sort of outreach program. Yes, I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm gonna give you the reminder to slow down again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get excited talking about this.
Okay.
I am so sorry. I will slow that down.
Thank you.
So the PTA at school events is pretty much when the school is doing an event of their own, and you as the executive board are obviously invited, right? You should have a table set up with your information for these elections, for a nomination committee, things of that nature, showing all the work that's been done. You can even ask to borrow, I do this all the time, I ask to borrow the Promethean board so I can showcase a little slideshow, show moments, photos, important, milestones. Actually, word of mouth, right? You gotta, a few people in your neighborhood. Some people live on the same block, some of the parents. We all live on the same neighborhood. You might see each other at the supermarket. You can emphasize there's gonna be an election. I think you're so good at, maintaining order in your day-to-day. I think you do that so well. how would you feel about, coming on and nominating yourself, or I could nominate you, things of that nature. Using social media, I think we discussed this as well, to get people, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm saying nomination, but we're talking about voting. Voting, sorry, I went a little bit off there. Voting is interesting because this is kind of removing the responsibility of wanting to run. So this is like really the parents that probably do not want to run, right? And so in my mind, this looks more like, I know you didn't want to run, but I think you need to vote. You know why? Because remember how you had that wonderful event that we did with the Christmas show and all of that? You told me you had a great time, and I think the only way we can do this again is if we have enough parents to support it. The biggest reason I give for voter outreach moments is that they have the right to be in the school. That's really the truth. When they know they have the ability to be there, that gives an emphasis on the importance of their vote. I said, you get to have a parent advocacy space. And the only way that actually becomes, concrete is if you vote, right? And so phone banking and e-blast, robocalls, all of these things to show that we're voting. We need to vote to maintain our executive board so that we have representation in the district and overall in the New York City public school system, right? As parents, right? And that usually is enough to get people to come to the meeting to vote, right? A few things that I just wanted to point out is, start early and communicate often. Every time you see parents, it's gonna feel like, oh my God, I'm doing this so many times. But guess what? That parent that last time you saw them was probably running to go to work. This time they're probably just getting a coffee. So it doesn't hurt to just kind of reiterate, hey, elections are coming up. I would love to see you there. We're going to have some coffee. We're going to have some snacks. It'll be fun. We'll have some conversation. I just really want to see you there, right? Show them that you really want to see them in the school. Making voting easy and accessible, to ensure that that language accessibility is there. We talked about this before with the Spanish language, but definitely find out, hey, principal, do you know what are the top languages of the school? Because maybe you haven't reached out to every single parent. And there might be Urdu, there might be Chinese, there might be Portuguese, there might be a bunch of languages you didn't know about. And this is gonna make it easier to get them to communicate, to vote, right? Put that information out. Educate the voters about the candidates, show their photos, all of these things. And engage the school community, of course, emphasize the importance of voting. And that's really it. Those are the main areas I think that are very important when you're trying to reach out to voters. Just make them feel like their voice is very important and we couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much. I know it took some time there, but there's a lot to unpack there. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Caroline. That was, I had made so many notes based on little nuggets that you said. There were so many great tips in there. And we're going to make you do a guest post for PTAlink. You have so
We're
much
here.
you have so many helpful hints. You're
well,
doing
check
it.
out PTAlink's YouTube page. PTA presidents, officers in general. It is a wonderful page. We're going to be having getting together community building for PTAs. That video is actually up. We will drop the link in the chat. It's very important.
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. There we go. Perfect.
It's in the chat.
Please check it out. PTAlink is an exclusively important resource for all PTAs, new and ongoing, and I really recommend it. Please check them out. Check it out in the link. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And Niall, we can go to the next slide. We're just going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of conducting elections, your agenda. So when you're building your agenda for your elections meeting, you have to think about your community and build the timeline appropriately. You have to build in voter verification time. You have to sort of know how many people are gonna tend to show up to these elections. Do you get a lot of people? Do you need a lot of voter verification time or not so much? Because bear in mind, if your agenda, like the one on the screen, says that you're going to make a motion to open the election at 6:45, and you're already done verifying your voters and selecting your chairs and making your opening remarks, if you got through that by like 6:15, you can't start the election at 6:15. You have to wait until 6:45, because if somebody shows up at 6:20 and you already voted for president, they're going to file a grievance. So you have to set up your agenda sort of knowing a little bit about the time that you need, and you may have to, wait for the time on the agenda to lapse to start your elections. Now this agenda is really an agenda for a virtual meeting, and that is because the floor is opened up to nominations for each individual officer role, and they're taking the nominations, then they're closing the nominations, and then they're proceeding to an election. In an in-person election, it makes more sense to take all of your nominations for all of the offices, put them on the board, and then close them out. Then you will go get your ballots and your ballot box, and then you will conduct the elections for all of the seats. So one of the other things that comes up often is, how long do you wait to achieve a quorum at the top? Sometimes you open your meeting and you planned to begin at a certain time, and you haven't met quorum. And so that is a conversation that you're going to have with your executive board in advance, and you're going to agree on what is an appropriate amount of extra time to wait for quorum. And who counts towards your quorum? It's your 2 executive board members, and then the number of members who are listed in your bylaws. If your bylaws says it's 2 exec board members and 6 parents and 2 teachers, that's your quorum. And if only 1 executive board member shows up, but you have enough parents and teachers, you still can't start. You have to meet your quorum exactly as it's outlined in your bylaws. And a best practice that Georgette left us with this morning when we spoke to her is to, when you're in the meeting, recommend that other parents reach out to at least one other parent and say, get on the call and vote. Encourage people to get in that meeting so that you can have broader participation. So okay, and we'll go to the next slide. So voter verification in a virtual meeting is different than voter verification in an in-person meeting. Georgette spoke a little bit about that. People who are calling in by phone, they'll often be asked to state the last 4 digits of their phone number, and then they'll be moved into a breakout room to verify their identification and to do their voting. Nominations in that kind of virtual meeting can be taken from the chat as well as from hands raised. And in person, you're going to use your parent coordinators to do your voter verification, and you need to verify in accordance with your bylaws. Next slide. To open your election, you're going to have to get a nomination, and you're going to have to register that time. Your secretary pro tem will register the time that election meeting began, and a parent or guardian will make a motion to second. Next slide. Nominations. So you'll read your roles and responsibilities for each office. Then you'll open the floor to nominations. You'll record the nominee's name. The nomination must be accepted. So you can write an email or a letter stating your intention to nominate yourself, and then you automatically are a candidate. But if somebody nominates another person, that nominee has to be present either in person or virtually to accept the nomination. Nobody can be forced to run for these offices. So that person who is nominated by somebody else has to be there to accept the nomination. And if there are no further nominations, you close the floor. You'll say, going once, going twice, and you close the floor. Then you open it up to candidate statements, and you will limit that time. We'll go to the next slide. And then after all the candidates have spoken, you'll proceed to a vote by a poll if it's virtual. You'll go to the people who called in and make sure you register their vote. And if you are in person, you will have a box and you will show everybody that box is empty. People will then put their ballots in the box. You will have other people with you manning that box. And I think we can go to the next slide. I think we skipped a slide on voting. Oh, I guess, okay, so I'm sorry. So when you're counting the vote, we can leave it on this slide. You have to you take it out of the box. You have to show everybody. You have to, other people have to see it. You're tallying it on the board so that everybody can see. Be as transparent as possible. Something else I want to point out is that your co-officers have to agree to run together as a slate. People can't sort of be forced to work together in co-officer roles. So voters are voting for a co-president 1 and a co-president 2 to work together. And you must consult your bylaws for all of those officer roles. Sometimes PTAs have co-recording secretaries and co-corresponding secretaries and co-financial secretaries. The bylaws can even include an office for a virtual support liaison who manages all of your virtual meetings. And you cannot close out your nominations ahead of the election. So if your nominating committee is accepting the nominees, you can't close out those nominations until you are about to conduct the election in the election meeting. We can move on to the next slide. So congratulations, you've been elected to serve as the president. In the event of a virtual meeting, you will now proceed to the nominations for the recording secretary or the corresponding secretary, and then you'll move on to treasurer. So now we have a true or false question. A candidate must be present in person or virtually to run for office. Raise your hand, true or false. Chantel.
I didn't want to raise my hand. I was gonna give
No,
someone
I'm
else
glad
a
you did.
chance. Yes, the person who is running has to be present.
False. It's actually false. A candidate does not need to be present in order to run. You can send in a letter and self-nominate, and you don't have to be there at the time of the election. You will be on the ballot. The difference is if someone else nominates you, you have to be present in order to accept that nomination. But you can run in absentia. All right, let's move on to school leadership teams. Just going to briefly touch on this. A660 requires you to hold your SLT elections immediately after your PTA elections in order to give more parents an opportunity to run for these seats. Only parent members may vote. And your SLT vacancies, they can also be filled in an expedited election if you're not able to fill them at that time. Something else I want to point out about SLTs, depending on your SLT's bylaws, there can be different terms. There can be 1 or 2 year terms, and SLT elections can occur for both an SLT member who will complete a vacated seat term or another member who will start a new term. And typically you conduct the election to fill the new term before you conduct the election for the vacated term. So know your SLT's term limits. And then finally, you will certify your election. You will use the New York City Public Schools election certification form. And you will submit that to a copy of that to the principal. The principal will sign both the PTA elections and the SLT elections. And you should obviously maintain the original with your PTA. And let's see, I'm going to add a link in the chat for that form so that people can take a look at that. And if we could put the slides back up, I did have some slides for resources and for questions. We're going to just go into questions right now, but I did want to be able to show a couple more slides. So if there are any questions out there, just raise your hand or drop it in the chat.
Can I just clarify something
Yeah.
for everyone listening? If like everyone is welcome, right, to nominate yourself, but just remember they are co-presidents, they are co-secretaries, they are recording secretaries. You cannot just randomly become co-secretaries or let's nominate ourselves. You and me can run at the same time, right? You will have to like amend your bylaws before all of that, right? You cannot just say, you know what, you and me are gonna do this work together. Excellent, that's amazing. But you must have had to amend your bylaws in order for you to be eligible to even do that. So these minor things can cause a problem if a parent doesn't know, because now the whole election has to be redone. So there's a lot of things. This is why your bylaws are very important, but most importantly are the chancellor's regulations A660. I know Antonia put it in the chat. I was looking, I was like, where is it? I also have it in there. So please, please, please. And if you have any questions, we're here to help you. We're here to guide you. We're here, just like Georgette, we're here to do mock elections. We're here to educate yourself because we want you to be able to support your school and to be knowledgeable enough so you can pass along the baton to everyone else after. we don't want to be, knowledge for me only, right? We want to help all the parents and uplift their knowledge too. So just wanted to reiterate that.
No, thank you for clarifying that. Yes, your bylaws outline your officers.
Just really add if any parent, PTA, PA, executive board member are having any minor inconveniences or conflicts, right? They have to, reach out to the parent coordinator, and if no support, they'll reach out to their family literature coordinator, and if no support, President's Council, right? Utilize all the knowledge that President's Council have, and if there's no response, Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council, right? We're able to support, to guide, to train. We're there to help all the boroughs, not just like district-wide, but also borough-wide. Again, we collaborate with like PTAlink and a lot of different stakeholders to support all the parents because we cannot be everywhere, but and we're always available. So let us know.
Thank you, Rosa. If you wouldn't mind dropping your CPAC email in the chat. Are there anybody else want to ask any questions? Do we have any questions on the interpretation lines? While the interpreters are checking their lines for questions, I will just share this QR code for this resource, which is a PTA year at a glance. It is sort of the bullets of what you should be working on month to month. It's not comprehensive. It's by no means everything, but it's just sort of a good base to work from. And here is all of my contact information, info@ptalink.org, and my New York Appleseed email address, our website, ptalink.org and newyorkappleseed.org. And also, this is a phone number for pro bono assistance if a PTA is seeking advice about how to become a 501c3. I know a lot of our PTAs struggle with that. And PTAs do have to secure an attorney if they wish to become a 501c3 and get their tax exempt status. So you can contact the New York Lawyers for the Public Interest at 212-244-4664, and they will put you in touch with a free attorney who can help get you on the road to getting your 501c3 status. And then we can go on to the next slide, which I think is just our ask that you subscribe to us. We don't send a ton of emails. We send a newsletter every now and again. And you can go to that QR code and subscribe. I'll just ask again for any questions, either here or in the interpretation lines. All right, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I hope you all found this material very useful. And please reach out to us if you want to talk about any of these topics in more in depth. We are available to come to your PTA meetings to give presentations on anything and everything related to PTA work. Just reach out to us. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Georgette. I thank all of you for tuning in. I thank my translators, my wonderful translators, and of course, Naya, my director. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Until
Yeah.
next time. And support your PTAs. Get the word out, everybody.
This recording will go up on our YouTube page and we'll put it up on our website. So you'll have it, and we'll send out a link too.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so much for
Appreciate
the
it.
opportunity to share our knowledge.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.